everyone, Jen Roque here at stampcampwithjen.com. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today I'm going to show you the third project for my September Stamp Camp recap. We made these gorgeous Apple Cider Treat Pockets. They have these little alpine spice cider packets on the inside. I got these. You can get a box of them. There are 10 pouches in the box. I got them at my local Target for about $2 for the box. And I think Walmart carries them as well if you shop there. So that's where you can find those. And then in this little treat tube, these are actually caramel bits. I'll bring over the bag here. I have an open bag. These are the craft caramel bits that you can get there. Not wrapped or anything. They're just like little morsels that you can add to apple cider to make caramel apple cider. So I thought that was a fun little add-on. I will have a link in my blog post and on my YouTube video in the description. I'll have a link for this as well, where you can buy the treat tubes on Amazon, because these are actually a retired Stampin' Up! Product that I had, but I found some treat tubes on Amazon that are about the same size. It'll work well for this too. All right, so I'm going to show you real quick how to put these together. These are really great table favors, and I think they'd be really great for Thanksgiving, honestly. And you could even put hot chocolate and like freeze-dried marshmallows or little peppermint candies in these for Christmas time too. So all right, so we're going to start with the cinnamon cider base. I have it at 5.5 by 8.5, and I scored it at 4 1/4. And I'm just going to fold that in half and burnish it with my bone folder. And then you may have noticed, so like this corner of my paper actually got all bent, but that's not a problem, because what we're going to do is we're going to take our ruler, and we're actually going to end up cutting this piece off, so we won't even use that piece. So we're going to take a ruler and a pencil, and we're going to go down from the top corner here. This is on the short side. We're going to go down 2 3/4 and make a pencil mark. And then we're going to grab our paper trimmer. Oops. We're going to line this up. So what you want to do is you want to line the pencil mark up to the top of your score line right there. So line that up in your track, and when you close the track, you'll be able to see the pencil mark and the score line on the inside of this track, and that's how you'll know that you have it in the right spot. So we'll cut that. So see my little piece that was all folded and messed up? Cut it off, doesn't even matter. Okay, and so now what we're gonna do is put that to the side, and then I have a piece of plaid tidings 6x6 designer series paper that I've cut to, I believe it's, let me double check my measurements here. I think this is 4 by 5 1/8, but I'm not exactly sure. I forgot to write it down. I'm sorry, but all the measurements will be in my description on my YouTube video and on my blog. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure on this side. We're going to go to 2 5/8, and we're going to make a mark. So if you can't see here. So the 5/8 mark is right there. So doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you can just go to the little half mark and then count these 2 little tick marks, and that's 5/8 there. So we're going to mark that down, and you have to make it kind of dark on this paper because it's hard to see with the pattern and with the dark colors. So bring our paper trimmer back in, and again, now we're cutting from where that pencil mark is to this top corner right here in our track. Okay. And now I'll put our paper trimmer away, and I'm going to erase, you can see my pencil mark just a little bit, but that's not going to matter because our treat tube's going to cover it up. So we are going to take our Stampin' Seal and apply to the back side of our plaid paper. Whoops. There we go. And you're going to make just a little bit of a border all around the paper there. Okay. And then on this inside piece here, we're going to put a piece of tear and tape right on the bottom there to kind of seal it in place and keep the pocket from falling out of the bottom. All the way to the edge along that bottom section there. Okay. Close that down. Now, grab our ruler one more time. And from this corner right here, we're gonna go line up 5/8 of an inch from that corner and make a little pencil mark right here. Make it big enough so you can see it, and then you just wanna go down just a teensy bit more and make another pencil mark. And this is where we're gonna hole punch to put our thread through. So I have a hole punch here. I got it at a local craft store. It's a Fisker's hole punch. I believe it's a 1/8 inch hole punch. So we're gonna punch through both layers here. So what I like to do is have it so the punch is on the top so I can kind of line up and see where I'm punching. And then my second hole. Perfect. So they don't have to be perfectly straight, just kind of similar to each other and far enough apart that you can thread some twine through. All right, so we've got this beautiful copper thread from the, I think it's Basket Weave and Metallic Combo Pack. So final time, I promise, for a ruler. We're gonna take about a 1-inch piece. We're gonna cut that down. Okay. So now we're done with our ruler. All right, so now what you're gonna do is grab your little treat tube. So like I said, I have my little caramel bits. I already put them in my treat tube there. And this is just a little cork stopper. It doesn't glue in or anything. You just kind of push it in snugly. So what we're gonna do is go through the bottom and thread through. And then we're gonna wrap it around the side and come back through the bottom again. There. And so where this little loop is, we're gonna put our treat tube right there. Isn't that cute? All right. So now what I like to do is make sure it's snug, and then I'm gonna tie a knot once. I'm just gonna tie once, and then I have my acorn trinkets. I love these things. I think they're so cute for fall. So we're gonna grab one of those, and we're gonna thread him through the metallic ribbon here. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna tie a knot around him, and that'll make it easier for us to tie our bow once we have a knot and have everything in place. So make a loop, swoop it around, and pull the ribbon through. And then you can kind of make it bigger or smaller. You can trim it if your ends aren't quite right. This turned out just good, just right. Okay, so that's good. So now what we need to do is make the little decoration for the top there. So that's gonna be our next step. So we can put this aside for right now while we do our decoration. So what we're gonna do is I have a scallop circle here from the Layering Circles dies. And so if you look at it, these are the bigger circles between the two, and this is the second largest one is the one that I grabbed. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut a piece of copper foil out with that, excuse me, with my new Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine that I love. Okay. So we have that right there. So that's going to be on the background there. And then we're going to work on this little wood grain piece on the bottom. So what I did was I went ahead and took another piece of cinnamon cider. This is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. And I have my Wood Planks 3D embossing folder. So I've showed this trick before, but I'm going to teach you how to do it again in case you haven't seen it. It's a really fun way to add dimension to embossing. So what we're going to do is I have the crumb cake ink pad. And so if you look here, you can see sort of that these are raised up. These are pushing up, right? So that's how we know that's the top. And we're going to take our ink pad and just slide it back and forth to get some ink on our folder. And then I'm going to take my paper, and I like to put it on the bottom. You could put it directly on the top, but I like to put it on the bottom just so I can kind of control where it is before the ink goes on top of it there. See, and you can kind of see where the ink lays. So mine needs to go back just a little bit more right there. Okay, and so now I want to show you. So this is the Stampin' Cut Emboss machine, and I know I'm really close on it, and I apologize, but because this is a 3D folder, and you can tell that by the Sizzix emblem on the bottom there, this is one of the older retired folders that's really, really thick. So what you need to do is you need to take your #1 plate, put your embossing folder on top of it, and then take a #3 plate and put that on top. And that is the sandwich you use for those old, thick 3D embossing plates that are now retired. And that is the perfect sandwich combo to go through your machine, okay? And so now you can see, it's so cool. It adds so much dimension to it. I really like that technique. So, all right, so we're gonna move that embossing machine aside. Oh, actually now we're gonna take, I have a circle from the stitched, or from the layered circles dies. So again, this is the bigger section. It's the second biggest one is the one that I took out of there. And we're gonna die cut a circle out of this. So that's why you can see like my wood grain is kind of on a diagonal. It doesn't matter because we're going to cut it out, and then you can kind of position it however you need it to be. So for die cutting, as you can see on here, we need a 1, a 2, and 3 #2 plates. Well, I've actually got this awesome magnetic plate that has the self-cut healing or self-healing cut surface, and I love this thing. I love that it is flexible and bendy. So actually, if you're going to use this, if you already have one, or if you're going to get one, all you have to do is take out the bottom #3 plate and replace it with this, because these are the same thickness as those cutting plates. We're going to put on our #2, our magnetic cutting plate. We're going to put our die on here, and then we're going to put our plate in and cut it out. And you don't get that popping, cracking noise like you used to get with the Big Shot. It's so smooth. Oops. And for some reason, I didn't have enough pressure on that, so I didn't actually cut it all the way. So we're gonna go through it one more time. I don't know what I did, but I had it off. There we go. So now we have our wood circle there. It's like magic. Okay. So now what I'd like to do is take glue, our green glue here. Oops, my stuff's getting all over the place. So I like the glue just because it gives you a chance to kind of move it around, and it has a really strong hold with the 3D. So with the 3D embossing folder, so all those grooves and everything, that glue will get right in there. And we're just gonna kind of position it on our copper background just like that. And we'll set that aside to dry while we make our pumpkin. Now, I'm going to show you a technique called no line coloring for this. You don't have to do it if you don't want to for your card, but I recently figured out how to do it, and I really like how it gives things dimension, and the shading is really pretty. So I'm gonna show you how to do it in case you want to try to do it on your own. Or you could just stamp it in pumpkin pie onto, this is very vanilla cardstock. So you could just, you know, stamp your pumpkin in pumpkin pie ink and put your sentiment on in tuxedo black and be done. That's fine, that's up to you. But I wanted to take the opportunity, to show you how to do it, the coloring, in case you wanted to learn and try on your own. So right here, we're gonna take I have the pumpkin stamp from the Harvest Hello stamp set. I really like it, I use it a lot. If you've seen my other videos, you probably know how much I love this set. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stamp my pumpkin. And then I'm going to grab some pumpkin pie blends. I have a dark and a light right here, okay? I'm gonna make sure you can really see what I'm doing. So I'm gonna zoom you in a little bit here. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna take the fine tip end, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna outline all, on the inside of the pumpkin, we're gonna outline the lines, if that makes sense. We're just gonna go right up next to the lines with the dark fine tip on all of the lines here. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we're gonna go back in and shade and add color later. So you're just kind of setting up the color at this point. So I like to go against all these little ridges. And then I even like to go on the bottom here and connect it all. So on the inside outline of your pumpkin too, okay? Okay. So then what I like to do, so we're gonna take the fine tip end first, and we're not gonna go over the dark. We just wanna go over the section that hasn't been colored yet in the light, okay? Because you don't wanna go over the dark and you don't wanna blend it all and make it a big mess right now. Because what will happen when you go over the dark marker with the light is it will pick up that color, and we don't want that just yet. We just want to kind of fill in the sections that don't have any color on them, just to kind of, again, establish our color base here. So I'm actually outlining everything with the light, with the fine tip, and then because I'm impatient, I'm going to go back in and color everything with my brush tip because it's faster. But again, I'm just outlining and going around all the edges. I'm not going over the dark. I'm just going right up next to it because I don't want to grab that color just yet. Okay, so now because, like I said, I'm impatient, I'm just going to go in with my dark, or not my dark, excuse me, with my light marker, but with the brush tip to fill in all those blank spots there. Okay, so see, you can still see the dark colors and you can see the light now. So now what we're gonna do, now that everything's colored, now we're gonna go, and I like to use my brush tip just because it gives everything even blending. And we're gonna go over the dark and you're gonna see it kind of pick up. Actually, I'm gonna use my fine tip here. You see it kind of pick up that color and start to blend it into everything. Let me do that on the bottom here. And do it here. And you see how the alcohol is being picked up from the light marker with the dark marker. and it's pulling it into the rest of it. Okay. And so now I'm going to take my brush here and kind of go over it even more and blend it. Okay, and now I'm going to go over the light just by itself, just to kind of make that darker a little bit and kind of blend it all together. I hope this is making sense. It makes sense to me when I explain it, but I have done it a few times, so you know how when you explain something, it makes sense in your head, and then somebody else who's never done it says, what are you talking about? So if for some reason it's not making sense or you're having a hard time with it, leave me a comment or send me an email. I'd be happy to chat with you and try to explain it. But that is how we made shading and did no line coloring for our pumpkin. All right, so I'm going to zoom back out here. I'm going to adjust so you can see everything. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our Tuxedo Black Memento ink, and I actually had some ladies who used the Season of Thanks from the Gather Together set, and I thought it looked really pretty, and really elegant. So I'm gonna copy them from my Stamp Camp group, and for this one, I'm gonna use this one, this stamp. So I grab my block here and use the Memento. Alrighty. And my Memento isn't the most even, so sometimes I like to stamp off and make sure it's okay and not splotchy, so my pad just picks up more color than in some areas than others. So see how, I just like how distinguished and elegant that looks. So all right, so now what I'm going to do is take my Apple Builder punch here, and we are going to punch out our pumpkin. And then I'm going to punch out my stem with a piece of early espresso cardstock here. So I'm not even going to stamp it or anything. I'm just going to punch it out, and then we're going to glue him on. So again, grabbing our liquid glue. So just remember, for pumpkins, the fat end of the stem goes down. If we were doing an apple for the Apple Builder punch, the fat side would go up. So for pumpkins, fat side down. So we're just going to take a little bit of glue here. And put it right there. And there's our little pumpkin. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my copper circle here. And we're going to bring our sleeve back in. And I'm going to take some Stampin' Seal Plus. It's a little bit harder, a little bit better adhesive to make this stick down. So you can use liquid glue if you want to, but I like the Stampin' Seal Plus. So I'm going to put that here, right in the middle. And then I'm going to take some dimensionals and put it on the back of my pumpkin. Oh, and this is another tip I recently discovered. I saw another demonstrator had all these lines on the back of their dimensionals, and I said, what is that for? And then I realized if you have all these lines on the back of your dimensionals, then when you go to peel off the back, you'll know you took the backing off when you don't see the color anymore. And I just thought that was such a good idea. So that is why I do that now. So that's a good tip, especially if you have a bunch of dimensionals on a project. That's a really good one. All right, there's the pumpkin. We'll slide our apple cider in here. And there you have it. Apple Cider Treat Pocket complete with caramel treat tube. All right, friends, well, I really hope that you have enjoyed this project, and if you haven't already, I hope that you'll like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and sign up for my newsletter. My newsletter subscribers receive exclusive projects every month, as well as information on sales and Stampin' Up! Updates and updates with Stamp Camp with Jen before anybody else. So, all right, guys, well, thanks again for joining me, and I really hope that you'll check back soon for more project updates. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.